Would you care to hear an old man's story for a moment? I remember that as a child, I had a manic fixation on organizing and cataloging every interest, object, or idea I had. One might say I had an insatiable appetite for the very essence of existence and how it interplays with itself in all its beautiful and horrific grandeur. It started first with the elements and how they inspire everything in the natural world, and how they turn her cogs. Then, with ideas of myself and who I would eventually become, the future. Indeed is important to me. And then finally, I collected certain objects that I treasured the most out of anything else, for their respective colors, shapes, tactile and emotional invocations. These items are rather special. So special I vividly remember all 538 instances, all neatly categorized and ordered and lovingly caressed with each associated tactile memory. Many of them have names, some as mundane and dismissive as a car passing by your street, some as moving as historic romance, and some as black as a horrible deed hidden in a basement somewhere. Innumerable years were spent collecting them. I might be inclined to refer to them as toys or trinkets. Coupled with the infinite amusement they bring me, I have a certain predilection to losing these items. My body, long weathered against the grains of time, has spent the strength my youthful arms once carried. I used to have the power and space to hold them. Now I can barely catch my beloved objects as they fall from my grasp. I cannot remember the first time I realized that they begun to slip from me. I perhaps noticed a draining, an emptiness, a sort of puzzle piece that loosely dangled from my flesh like some half-living dream. You feel that integral piece and its absence. And to the ignorant passerby of the mundane world, these gifts to the world are squandered and left to rot in undignified pockets. This is, perhaps, why I go through such great lengths to detail all of this to you. It matters not how my message reaches an audience. It matters not which object lies where and why and how. Because, as my prior history with these fascinations may imply, I always know where I must have dropped them, and how to return them to my grasp. You see, the thing about some collections is that they're just too tantalizing, too salaciously desirable to let go of. Have you ever had a fixation that, despite all of reality conspiring against your coupling, you strive to see perfected and neatly boxed up? Or that, perhaps, they inspire a passion so deep and intense that it feels like a whirlpool from which there is no escape. And yet, your entire person insists, yes, this is my ideal. This is my possession. I am nothing without it. That is the motivation these objects bring me. If one spends their entire existence not trying to holistically, objectively understand and coexist with a collectible, then why even bother having it at all? Discard it, throw it away even. It still has growing pains to do, to be worthy of consumption. That is the point of holding something, to understand the weight of a thing's existence merely by possessing it, and never feeling the need to abandon it. Anything else is less than a tool, intended to be discarded after use. To cut to the chase, I ask you, dearest reader, to fulfill one simple task for me. And surely, I understand the lunacy of asking such a thing from such an impractical place, via what is undoubtedly an analog method of communication. But this object is perhaps the easiest one to find, because it is present in a myriad of places. And really, this simple and generous act will motivate me to share my many, many bountiful gifts. I tell you, these old bones carry wealth many men will never see in their lives. Much of it monetary, and some laying bound in dusty volumes and hidden containers that have never before been graced by mundane eyes. Should you succeed, you will make contact at the end of this quest. My only joy these days comes from others discovering the myriad gifts that my collection provides. There is an associated gift for each of these objects beyond the one you seek, and each one is more useful than the last. Hark, listen closely, because these instructions are not for the cowards and braggarts. The trials to be passed are fleeting and ephemeral in nature, being subject to failure at the slightest notion of doubt. And failure not only means loss of my wealth, but a decline of the spirit that will persist in the most agitating throughout the remainder of your life. This is how lost opportunities eat away at you. If but an iota of skepticism exists at all, then do not waste your life continuing. I have no mind for those without internal eyes. Visit any asylum in any part of the world and ask to see he who bore them. The receptionist may feign ignorance, confusion, and even apprehension, perhaps escalating further until such a point it may seem that you shall be forcibly removed from the establishment. Continue pestering them, unrelentingly even. You may employ shouting, cursing, and perhaps even physical displays of threat if one so desires. But do not harm the reception. Eventually, with a sigh of resignation, they shall lead you to a hallway that extends into a labyrinthian section of the institution. They extend, seemingly infinite, in pricks of light dotting the rapidly darkening length of it. Follow these hallways as intuitively as possible. There is no wrong combination to traverse them, only a wrong tone of step and a lingering gaze. You will notice that passerby will slowly and assuredly drift further and further apart, until you are the only foot traffic. Do not react to this realization. Do not look into the rooms of these hallways. Therein lies other seekers who will inevitably fill these rooms. They are beneath notice. They lack drive you have. Most humans do, in truth. You will prove this. Eventually, a battered and chained door will make itself apparent to you. It should have a set of notches in the frame determining the number of seekers who have made it this far. Last time I checked, it was around 3. It's been a very, very long time since someone has made it this far. As if predetermined, as if I were expecting you to walk through. Knock 5 times, in steady tempo, and say the first phrase that comes to your mind. It may, perhaps, be an inkling of a mantra concerning the nature of one's own desires. You will speak it confidently, earnestly, and out loud, for that is the only thing that will open these doors. Otherwise, you will merely find yourself at the back exit of the establishment. Remember that nothing is true, but all is permitted. Belief is merely a tool to further a seeker's resolve when pursuing an object of desire. The longer one looks upon that fixation, the more it becomes part of your reality. And so do the fetid, quiet things which occasionally twitch in the peripheries. That is why it's so important to purge all other thoughts from your head as you partake in this test. Nothing else matters. Your gnosis depends on it. You'll feel an ecstatic sensation as you plunge into the pitch-black gulf that awaits you. In this charnel room, dozens of voices will begin to call you from across the sick beds, each accusing you of an intimate sin. Find the decision that caused a loved one the most pain. You know which one it is, so don't bother pretending otherwise. You will feel it in return, tenfold, a reminder of the choices you've made to reach this point. If you choose correctly, all ceiling lights will activate. Afterwards, follow their sparsely lit path to the broken staircase which leads to nothingness. Rotting wood steps line the walls in absurd abundance, as if unnoticed and swept into this decayed throat by generations and generations of weak and ignorant custodians. Rusted grime leaks from the pores in the walls, a reminder of the trinkets which leave holes in my being. Somewhere, an infernal machine pumps useless pistons that serve no function other than to synchronize with your heartbeat and draw you closer to the heart of your search. Every cell in your body will scream in protest, and your mind will lead you to naturally doubt the nature of this quest. Jump in. I remember being a young man once, sitting outside my school with not a single soul surrounding me, in the depths of winter. I remember huddling close to myself and believing myself to be utterly invisible, untouchable, a mass of nothing. And then the heavens parted, and a bird came crashing down into the concrete abruptly. Whether it was the impact or the cold, who could say? But I remember watching this bird perish slowly, with my reflection staring back from its skyward eyes. In the eye, I appeared as a shadowy mountain, and I wondered if perhaps, to this small bird, I was its own incarnation of death made manifest, to usher it into the next world. I smile now when I think about it, sitting on one of my innumerable shelves. Death is now immutably a part of my being, as I once did on that day. You will find yourself standing at the bottom of a precipice, from which nothing whole may escape. Here, you will find myself, seating in my resting chambers. I will greet you, and you will sit down next to me on a bed made from fallen leaves, marble eyes, and incandescent smoke. The walls around us are a collage of everyone, everything, and every moment that has ever happened in the world, coalescing and mixing and unmaking themselves in an orgy-like fresco of madness. My eyes bore holes through you and the peeling walls and tapestries between us, but you will not free them, not until much later, and we will sit and discuss the nature of things for some time, as it will have been the first human conversation I've had in ages. We will discuss the Carcosa, the last great king Hastur, and the Hades. You will see the latticework in which my objects will fit, and you will weep when you understand to what end they all serve in tandem, and you will wonder how this came to be, how you came to follow such an esoteric guide down to the minute detail, to lead you to this suffocating and dreamlike world. You will wonder how I've known every step, a series of concentric holes, digging deeper and deeper into the Xanthus painting of madness that constitutes my atmosphere. Once upon a time, the world began with a hunger, an obsession that grinds itself in circles for eons. I am that hunger. Each ring is one more obsession that burrows deeper. I answered when you were seeking. We are both beings bound by our fixations and obsessions, here we will find mutual satisfaction. The desire to collect, to observe, to devour, to cherish is present in every single human being on the planet. We are bound to these baubles as we are bound to one another. Do you not understand? We are nothing but voids in the gossamer outline of humans, and that is why we should strive to fill those gaps in with as many aesthetic, loathsome, painful, whimsical, maddening memories as we can, to fill up space and to be filled in turn, to be made whole. The final task, one of many, is resting on the cabinet next to us. Place the power drill upon your frontal skull plate, roughly atwixt the middle and upper portion of the forehead, and drill through the skull until an airway is made clear. Upon completion, my essence will bore itself deep into your skull, mixing, swirling, in a nauseating vortex of sights. The pain will be unendurable, and you will wish you were dead, but you will persist regardless. You are Object 1 of 538. You can now see every other object from here, in this sanguine room, through yellowed and tattered eyes which pierce every wall and hidden depth, where pockets of rotten flesh, bereft of their purpose, lay bare and awaiting the return of their possessions. The eyes of Hastur are infinitely irradiant, and they light the path to the other lost baubles, the 537, which all impart a portion of myself to the seeker. The trials to receive them are many and agonizing. Broken bones, a splintered soul, a bruised mind await. But for you it will be a mere triviality, with your youthful and searching hands, and the fascination to see the end through. And one day, you will become the one who holds them all. And I will become that little dead bird in your eyes,